Welcome to Business Beyond the Mic, where we join Carly Van Heerden, CEO and founder of We Edit Podcasts. Together, let's uncover the art of podcasting.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Business Beyond the Mic. I'm your host, Carly Van Heerden. Today on the show, we welcome on Jody and Ross. Jody and Ross are the hosts of the Bioscope Brasse podcast, two friends from Cape Town, South Africa, who talk about movie news, reviews, shorts, and a little bit of everything in between. During our conversation, we dive into what it looks like to create a podcast without technically knowing anything about podcasting. But their passion for their niche and their commitment to authenticity has truly propelled them into podcasting success. They even got to interview an A-list celebrity, and they were featured on Apple's list for shows we love in 2023. This was such an incredibly rich interview, and they truly pull back the curtain on what it takes to create a show with a 96% listen-through rate. That is incredible. So without further ado, here are the Bioscope Brasse. Jody, Ross, welcome to Business Beyond the Mic. It's so great to have you guys on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, for this very special episode, I've invited on Jenny again because she's met them in real life. So I just thought it would be amazing to have all of us sit down and have a fun conversation about all things podcasting. And you guys are so far into your journey, and I know we're going to cover so many topics. But first, why don't you start us off by telling us a bit more about yourselves and, of course, your podcast?
Whew. I mean, you just said in real life that I don't think anyone's ever referenced us in terms of meeting us in real life before. So that's cool.
And I played it so cool, right? I was so chill. It was great.
Yeah, laid back. We always had editing meetings with people when we meet them the first time.
No, we don't. If someone praises the show or something, I usually just walk away. I can't handle it. It's too much.
Awkward moonwalks out of the situation.
Sorry, Jody. Good, carry on.
No problem. So I'm Jody Felton, one of the Bioscope Brasse podcast. I work in international higher ed, my day job, and then I have the podcast that I do with Ross as a side hustle passion project.
Also, your family.
I'm married with 2 kids.
Yes. Your wife's not going to be happy if you forget that.
No.
That's your whole life. Yeah, I'm Ross. I'm the other half. I'm a designer by trade. That's my day job. And then, it's Jody and I just decided during COVID to start something. We both enjoy talking about films when we got together in real life. And then, he said, let's talk about movies and then record it. And that sort of started it. And then the next, when you pitched the idea, we recorded our first episode a
couple of weeks.
A week or month. A couple of weeks afterwards.
Yeah, say about a couple of weeks. I'll add that I pitched the idea to Ross with absolutely no idea what it takes to do a podcast. I would see snippets of Joe Rogan's podcast sometimes on my YouTube. I thought that's all it is. And
that's all it is.
Pitched the idea and we just went for it, basically.
And now we're 99 episodes in.
Yeah.
Sure. Well done. Congratulations,
it's crazy,
guys.
Thank you.
Well, I feel like we should dive right into that. Since you thought that's all it required, what is something that you wish you knew before you got started and made a better pitch the first time?
I'd only change the quality of our audio from when we started, because I think everything else was really intrinsic to the journey and us figuring out the podcast. And I feel like our audience grew with us. We had a really, family and friends were pretty much the only listeners when we started. And that journey was really cool and amazing and fun. But the hardest part for me is going back and hearing the quality of the audio on the first few episodes. It was so bad.
The show structure as well. I wouldn't have liked to, looking back now, it would be cool to be I would have liked to have a cheat or this or that. But I feel like the show has become what it is because we made those mistakes sort of along the way and just kept tweaking the entire time. So I'm kind of happy with our journey, but the audio quality would have been nice to have.
Well, I remember listening to one of your episodes and you were talking about feedback. At one point, you were listening and taking in a lot of feedback from people, and then you reached a point when you're like, okay, that's enough. We figured it out. So, what was that moment that you realized we found our voice, we found our structure, this is what we're going to go for?
Yo, when was that? There was a point though, eh?
Yeah, because we used to touch base a lot about the episodes, and
Yeah.
even like the structure used to be that we'd record and Ross would send me a draft of the edits that he's done first before we would drop the episode, and only then release it. And now it's like I don't even have to listen because we both know what the requirements are and what we're happy with. But I think you're right, we did get to a point where we felt like this is the right format, this is the right energy level, this is the best time to do it. And but I think where we stopped taking feedback happened before that even. So it's like we had still been working on the episodes, but we took initial feedback and then got to a point where it was just us working at it and trying
Yo, what would
to
say? So that was about like maybe 20 episodes in? Oh no, maybe less actually. 20,
yeah.
yeah, like around there in the somewhere in the beginning. Because it's like you can only take so much feedback and everyone has different tastes and whatever. And at some point you just have to decide like, okay, we want an audience, but we also want to be ourselves and we want to
Yeah.
put something out that we can be proud of and have fun doing. And that's it's that marriage between those 2 points. So then we just stop listening to people.
Yeah.
And now we do what we want.
We will not be taking any further feedback at this point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Although we did take feed when we joined Sami because of Sami Arif's history in the
Background.
industry. Yeah. We took some feedback from him and he was always like, but he tweaks things as he goes. He was like, make your episode shorter, figure that out, whatever. But once he saw like our retention rate for each episode, then he was like, okay, I think I can't tell you what to do anymore. So that
Yeah.
was nice.
Yeah, I was also keen to actually, as I was talking, I was thinking about that retention rate because we mentioned it at the We Edit podcast event, but not We Edit, sorry, that's you guys.
That's
We
okay.
mentioned it
So that's fine.
at the podcast catalyst event. Like we have
Sorry,
a
Sean.
96% retention completion rate on episodes. So when people do start listening, they listen all the way through, which I guess is the best form of validation for us that what we are doing works in terms of like reeling the audience in and keeping them there.
Well, it can always be better uphill, but yeah, for now it's fine. You never
that
know.
extra
Sometimes
4%.
I
You
get,
got to do
sometimes I
something in
get
your
bored.
outro, like.
No, I don't know. Sometimes it's like I get like bored or I get like what do you call it, jack footer? Like my feet start to itch, and then I'm like, maybe I should change something. Maybe I should tweak something. I'm gonna run this by Jody. Mo, maybe I shouldn't. I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. Like those things do happen with me, but for the most part, yeah, we've just kept it the same.
Yeah.
But that's the same thing that happens. Like if you start out, you're not necessarily going to know even what is the structure of your podcast. Like, and some people don't even think about a structure. They're just like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to record, that's it. But you guys break it up into different sections and kind of found your own way to structure it so that it works for you. And obviously, it's people aren't getting bored because of that variety. So how did you first come around to that idea of putting in these different structures into your episodes?
That's been there from the start. Like even with our test episode, we had a draft structure of what we wanted to do. So it was like start, talk about some trailers, talk about movie news, do a movie review, and that ended up being like an hour and a half. I think when we
Sure.
Yeah,
the edited version
way
was
too
about
long.
an hour
Yeah,
and a half.
way too long.
So that just felt too long. But we realized immediately we were onto something with structure, and structure was something that we needed to keep in just to kind of play around with the structure itself, like what to include, what to exclude, and so on. So that's been there from the start.
I'm trying to. Yeah, I believe you. I don't know. Actually, I can't
That sounded
remember.
right.
Yeah, it got like a. Yeah, because we actually planned it like that. We planned.
We
even
have the Excel spreadsheets.
Oh,
It's still
nice.
on. It's
You pull
still
out the receipt.
In the archives, you know.
Yeah.
Even with the movie review structure, we kind of worked on, okay, we're going to talk about the plot, we're going to talk about the story, whatever, we're going to talk about the characters, we're going to talk about that, and then we'll go into spoilers after that. Like all those things were sort of segmented very early on, and I think it just makes for us personally, we also decided, what would we want to listen to? How would we want to listen to this information?
Yes.
So we sort of broke it down into chunks so that we could also be like, okay, so we had this aggressive spoiler sound so that people would know, okay, this is where the
Turn off
spoilers hit.
now.
Yeah, and then early on we decided to hit you with the worst part, the biggest spoiler in the movie. Yeah, immediately after that sound. So when that sound hits, they know if they haven't seen the film, stop listening and come back.
Yeah.
I love it. I think I'm going to jump in with one of the sort of movie-orientated questions, because obviously what makes your show so great is obviously the chemistry between you two, but also your passion for cinema, for movies. So what was that first cinema experience that made you fall in love with movies?
I have an animated movie that's just stuck in my mind. I remember going to see Aladdin when it was released at the cinema, and Robin Williams, just the magic of Robin Williams in that genie role, and just being absolutely captivated. And the reason it was magical for me is also that I went without my parents. So it was myself and like a couple of cousins, and
Ooh,
I know, and I was really
smoking
young.
cigarettes also.
Back of the cinema, you know how it goes. 6 years old. Just
The candy cigarettes.
yeah.
No.
But I just remember like the movie was so good that I was completely pulled into it, and I wasn't even scared or anything. It was amazing.
Yeah, we used to hire a lot of films back in the day. We also you had to hire the machine, the VHS machine as well, and then the films. That was really cool for me because it became like a movie night. But in the cinema specifically, there was a cinema in Athlone, and that was the double feature. It used to be R8 for 2 movies, and then you could take your food and stuff in. And because the best I could go with my auntie. I didn't like going with my parents, so I would go with my auntie, and then we would walk down, and I would watch like the most violent films. RoboCop, I think 3 was the one where he flies was 3, no?
That's part 3.
Yeah, part 3, and then some Western. But a special one was when I went shopping with my mother to Kenilworth Center, and I had no idea that she had time, because usually she didn't have time. And then all of a sudden she was like, let's go watch a movie. And I was like, okay. And then she took me to watch Free Willy. And that blew my mind. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, I want a whale, you know? It was amazing because not only was the movie mind-blowing for me, but the experience of like, okay, I'm just going shopping with my mother to be like, yeah, let's go watch a movie. That was amazing. So I think that's where
Did you cry during the Michael Jackson soundtrack?
I cried through the whole thing, bro. Let's go. I just wanted to Free Willy. That's what I wanted to do.
I'll sign the petition.
Whatever you want.
I feel like my moment was literally Titanic. My
Oh
parents
wow,
took us.
that's a
It
good
was like-
moment.
and there was even an intermission. And
Yeah.
we got,
Yeah.
That
was one of the first-
What a big one.
That was one of the first 3-hour films. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was shown. It's not because they had the intermission, and I remember that was even a story. People were talking about there's a break in between, and I'm like, what?
What is this?
But
Carly,
you needed it.
my Titanic story is that the teachers at the primary school I attended all wanted to see the movie. So they took from like grade 6 and up, they took all of the kids to go and see the movie because they wanted to do it. So
Yeah,
we
but
all
then
got
There
to
was
see
a
the
part
movie.
where I had to watch it like this.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's exposed breasts in the film. How was that show?
Oh,
was
yeah.
that an awakening for you as well?
It was a spiritual
An
awakening of
education.
yours. We hadn't even covered
My-
biology in primary school.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow, we were.
It's a good segue. For Titanic, I had such a traumatic experience with it because one of my friends, I think it was her birthday party, but we were 7 and the movie was Titanic and we had to take our parents with us. But by that stage, I was already so into films and movies, but I would get so engrossed. And Titanic was just, it was so real that I just completely freaked out. And I ran to my mom and I was like, Mom, I can't watch this. Like, this is happening. It's like, my mom was like, don't worry. They're just actors. It's fine. And so then I went to everybody else at the party going, don't worry. It's just acting. Don't worry. They did not care. There was zero care happening there, just dull looks. And I was traumatized. I haven't seen it since. I won't even put the soundtrack on my working playlist. Like, I won't even do it. It's too much.
Don't worry.
It's the yin and the yang over here.
No. But my cinema experience was it was the Jungle Book. And also similar, my mom, someone gifted us tickets, and I think I was about 3. And someone gifted us tickets to the Jungle Book. And I remember sitting there getting the popcorn, and to this day, like, the smell of popcorn is like
that memory is connected.
It's just that. And I remember sitting in the cinema, and I can still see like part of the scenes playing, and that was just, this is the ultimate.
But that's why I love movies so much. Like it's just, there's so many things that I can, like, okay, I don't want to delve too deep into my personal issues, but whenever there's like family issues or trauma or whatever, then I would be like a wreck, and then my wife would be like, yeah, I understand why this affects you like this, but I didn't have the same childhood that you have, so I'm not connecting. I mean, not that my childhood was terrible. I'm just saying, like, there's certain things that happen. You connect with a film. Example of that is Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is about like generational trauma and stuff. And I was bawling, bruh. I'm like, the tears is running down my face, and I look at my wife, and she's just like, "Oh, this is a nice film," and she like, you don't understand.
But it's the power of story.
It really is, man. Yeah, I wish I read more. Jody reads a lot more, so I think he has that other level of like storytelling and stuff that consumes. But I just read comics, so I need pictures.
So movies are good.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
But it seems like you guys have such a natural chemistry, and when you're podcasting, it doesn't seem like you have made it work. It's more something that you do together as, in like friends in podcasting. But what other benefits would you say you've had from this experience that you never would have thought happened, since starting the podcast together?
I mean, the most recent ones, like being asked to talk about podcasting, getting to interview producers and actors. We started this for free movie tickets. People think we joke when we say that, but
we're not joking.
Look,
we just wanted to go for free.
Russ and I both felt like, he mentioned we started during COVID, and we both had this thing of, we had the creative side that we wanted to express, and podcasting was an avenue for it. And when we started, we really thought it would be so cool if we could get free movie tickets. Like, if we could convince Ster-Kinekor or New Metro, we're not fussy, if either one could give us free tickets, that would be it.
I think it's closer. It's closer to me.
Now, that was it. And as I said, we've had such amazing opportunities, even doing something like this, being asked to guest on another podcast and talk about things is
so
crazy.
Weird. So weird. But even on
this is it. Doesn't get better, man.
Nice. No, but even
on like Copley, who?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, who's next? We'll probably talk to what's Leon Schuster doing? No, don't want to talk to you. But anyway, even on a personal level, I think it's crazy how my vocabulary has improved. That's mainly because of Jody, and my public speaking. I was always sort of perceived as a extrovert and whatever, but I'm really not. So I do make a lot of jokes. I do engage with people. I do talk, but it's not that much fun for me. And podcasting is sort of like a safe space where you sort of get to just knock it out with a bra and be yourself. And then that has helped me in my work, actually. Talk to a group of people without having to stress about it, because it's just okay, I'm just going to treat it like it's a podcast episode. And that, I mean, start from where I came from to getting to where we are now, to be able to even think about doing something live is astonishing, actually.
Yeah. Same for me. It's the things like the with the filler words and the sounds and stuff, things that we've had to actively work on not doing
Active
in the
listening
podcast.
is horrible.
I'm a very active listener.
No, I do it too. Jody does. What do you do, Jody? You go yeah, and then I do yeah, and I'm like, God, you could just and that when we get to the editing part, I'll talk about how I cut all that out.
I'm gearing up for that question. Don't worry. But obviously you've had such a great journey and it's been something that you've been excited about. But if I switch gears a little bit, was there ever a part or a time when you thought like, we're not going any further? This is like, we've done it. Yeah, we want to quit.
Not for me, no. I haven't felt like I ever wanted to quit, but I think we've had the challenges of like reaching out to like potential sponsors or reaching out to cinemas and trying to like get to the next level for the show. And when that doesn't work out, when you get those doors closed on you, that's been demotivating. And then you feel like, oh man, we're doing this and we feel like we've got a really good podcast, something that we are proud of, that like without Ross and I being included in this, we feel the show deserves to be recognized and sponsored and all of those things. And when you don't get that, it's hard. Like that is a bit demotivating. But doing the show, it's like I'm hanging out with a friend. Ross sees me more than most people. Sometimes has to hear my voice more than my wife does. So he's like, I don't ever get tired of that side of it.
No, it was touch and go in this section because of the amount of work it was. Of course, I do like all the editing and stuff myself. There were points where it was just like, yo, this is too much. Is it worth it? We're not going anywhere, and I'm putting so many hours into this. Like, why? But like talking to Jody and then coming up with ideas to sort of streamline the process, I think has really helped. And you kind of just have to push through, man. Like this is so American. If you believe in yourself, then you got a good thing, you know? No, but true. If you believe in what you're doing and you're willing to stick it out, I feel like you can push through those moments where you're like, sure, we need to stop this now. But again, I'm not saying I won't have moments like that, but I haven't had moments like that in a while because Jody's been so accommodating when it comes to, there's no pressure from him. If I don't drop an episode that week, he's like, it's chilled. He's got kids. I have a day job. I also have social life and stuff. So it's not a train smash, but I still feel sort of guilty about it. But yeah, it's consistency, I think, has been our biggest struggle so far. The only reason we're not releasing now is because we don't want to. We're on 99, and the problem is we dropped 99 like a couple weeks ago, so it was kind of early. So now we can't actually do anything, otherwise it becomes the 100th, you know. So it's like, okay, but it's a nice break for me.
we can actually like a little bit of behind the scenes, but we only realized we were on 99 episodes when the 99th episode was recorded. So we then realized that we have to do something for the 100th episode. And we've been threatening to do a live for quite some time now. And we were like, what better occasion than 100 episodes in?
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. I don't think there's a way that you can top 100 than doing a live. And we'll get into kind of what you've not to spoil it, but kind of how you got to that decision. But if you're going to talk about the editing, and I think that does need to be, and the reason
I'll just
for
blank
this,
my screen.
No.
just don't cough, just nod. Okay. And the reason for it is because I think so many people get into podcasting thinking it's going to be easy, because all you do is, I'm just going to talk and everything I say is going to be amazing. And it's just, that's it. It's so natural. That's why I love podcasting. Yeah. But it's not that. The reason your show is so good is because it's value from the beginning to the end. And I think that was the key thing when I came back from meeting you guys. The thing that I didn't really shut up about was that 96%. because you can have any other metric, and I can get emotional about it. I won't. I'm gonna rein that in.
No, you can.
But
This is a safe space.
can I just cry? Is it a good session? Is it a therapy session?
I'll cry too.
I'm
I
in the
think
counseling room in my office, so
Nice. Okay, so you can just wave a tissue at me or something. I think nothing says excellence than that 96% rate. But that doesn't come easy. So yes, you guys planned it, you've got your segments, you're passionate about it, but you're also ensuring that there's value from the beginning to the end. And that's why I want to highlight the time it takes to edit, because again, it sounds so natural, and I think it's the highest compliment that you can pay somebody to say, oh, it sounds like no editing has happened. But the problem is people think no editing has happened.
no work.
So do you want to, no work is done. Like, why aren't they dropping their next episode? I mean, 99, come on.
All they do is hang out and talk a whole
Yeah,
bunch
they
of
just
nonsense
talk.
to
I
each
mean,
other.
they just have to publish
How
it. So
hard
like,
could it be?
what?
Nah, man. Yeah.
But I think
If
that
they-
needs to, the gift that is great editing, because you don't see it and you don't, it's there, but you don't know it's there. So kind of, do you want to talk us through your editing process, Ross, and how long it actually takes you to get an episode edited down?
Okay, so time-wise, it's usually to get an hour episode, it's about 3 to 4 hours of editing. I don't listen to the whole thing beforehand. I sort of edit as I go, because then I can cut out the active listening noises or whatever as I sort of go on. I use Adobe Audition. I do it's probably not the best way to do things, but I do everything really like manually. I'll go into that sound. You'll see like a sound wave. If people work with audio at all, it's usually a WAV file, and you'll see the sound wave, and I'll cut that sound wave and then listen to it back. And then it doesn't sound right, then I listen to it back again, and then I'm like, how can I make it sound right? And blend it a little. That's the nitty gritty. Then I sort of try and remember what was said as I'm editing. So there'll be parts where we kind of repeat ourselves. There'll be parts like that. And I then know, okay, because we spoke about this beforehand, I can cut that whole section out. I don't have to use that because we referred to it already. There's moments where people walk in the flat. I mean, my wife sneezes, and that
Last at a TikTok video.
yeah, like those things. I also sometimes I keep it in. There's also you have to have an idea of how you want your show to sound, and the goal was, okay, we don't have a studio, we don't record in a professional setting, so what if we just roll with the punches? Like if there is a noise, people can feel like, oh, they're sitting in their flat, I'm with them in their flat, so it sort of creates this scene, if you will, that we are sitting in a flat, you sitting on the couch, you're listening to us in the real time. So those things I keep in, but it's gotten to the process where I can identify what to get rid of and what to keep in, like to create that tone and for us not to repeat ourselves and to be efficient. So we do record the episode itself is just over an hour, like the raw audio, right, Jody? Like nowadays. It's probably like an hour 15.
That's typical for us, yeah, hour 15, which is also something we work towards. Like, we know that if it's about an hour 15, that's about 4 hours of editing for us. If we go crazy and go longer, then it's more editing for you. So, yeah, about
so you
hour.
take like an hour 15, for instance, and you then cut it down to 50 minutes, 45 minutes. So you're not cutting out that much, but you have to cut out all the fat and then a little more, I think, in my opinion. So once the intros and all that stuff has been set up and all that jazz, it's sort of just get. That's why I had an issue at the podcast event with video, because that's a whole different monster. But I'm working on a process where I'm trying to do one edit for both, and I tested it with another show. So that is now a new journey for me, because I feel like I've got the audio stuff down to the point where our show is economical, funny, informative, whatever, and we can always just tweak that as we go. Like that process is solid. Now we're adding video, and then now I'm back at the drawing board.
And you love videos so much, right?
I do love video so much. No, I don't. We don't. We're not front of camera people normally.
No.
We behind the camera, but uh, and since the event and people recognizing us and stuff, I've gotten a lot of questions about starting your own podcast and all that jazz, and I'm just like, first thing I ask is like, what is your show about? And then it's just like conversation and like meaningful conversation. I'm okay, what kind of meaningful conversation? Like, I'm trying to dig to the nugget, because you need the nugget. You can't just, like you say, you can't just get in a room and record with someone and be like, oh, this is the show. So you have to be like, okay, so you need to get to the nugget of what your show is going to be about, and how is that nugget going to carry on through your episodes. If you're going to like, we've interviewed a few people now, like, we've been fortunate enough to have access to some comedians. Cassidy has become a friend, actually. Cassidy Nicholson, Yasin Barnes. So there's people that we've interviewed, but then it's Jody and I used to have the conversation, like, people should come to your show for the interview, but they should stay for you, the host, because like, you're the one that's going to be there every single week. So why they shouldn't just come to see you talk to a famous person. They need to be like, oh, Bioscope Brasse is talking to this person. I want to see what they have to say to this person. So I don't think people fully understand that concept, especially if they want to build their show around interviews, which is one of the conversations that I had. And I was like, you need to figure out what your message is from the start, and then make sure it carries through throughout the episodes, and then don't stop tweaking. Always tweak. Sorry, I thought I was talking long now. Edit some of that. What I said. Edit that out.
You'll fix it in post.
The facts and a little bit more.
Yeah.
But the thing about that is, now you've created these incredibly valuable pieces of content. They're still true to who you are. It's not that you're editing out the soul of that nugget, the person that you are, the people that you are. So it's still authentic, even if you have edited. So now that you've got this incredible podcast episodes, things that you're sharing that you're really proud of, what do you do then at post-production, once things have launched, once the episodes have published, to get the word out there, to almost, market your podcast, I suppose?
I guess the short answer would be not enough from our side. Ross deals with social media with some of his day job, but it's not a space that the two of us are, in our personal capacities, like, flourishing and thriving in.
Well, I do actually work in marketing. Just shows how much you listen, Jody. I work in marketing. I know how to do it. I do it for a job.
I know I said that.
Can't seem to do it. No, but I mean, like, it's marketing is a different thing to like social media, right? Like, being active on social media, that's one thing. But like, actively marketing, we don't do enough. It's a problem.
But I think it's also like we still are getting used to this idea of it's okay to be proud of our product and to like kind of push it to people.
Yeah.
So we're very comfortable with putting out something that we are happy with, that we think is good, and then if people consume it, they consume it, but if not, then that's on them. So we're still getting to that next level of being more aggressive with marketing. I mean, we've tried to get into different spaces. So like within TikTok, Ross's, like, we use clips on TikTok from the episodes, but all of the things we do is really just geared towards getting people to the audio at this point, where we are now looking at also including video in a bigger capacity and getting people to that. But yeah, we still struggle with that side, I'd say.
That's sort of where the trick comes in, right? Because you have to keep plugging the audio. You have to keep plugging the link, like everything, every little tidbit that you send out there, a little short clip, a funny clip, whatever. You have to be like, here's the link to the full episode, and that is, you have to decide, like, do you want to send people to YouTube, or do you want to send people to Spotify or Apple Podcasts? And we've always been audio first, but I don't know how much longer we can hold out.
Yeah,
because of the space, like you want there's so many people just in our immediate vicinity that consume podcasts through YouTube. And it's like, okay, you can't always just put up artwork and the audio, like that doesn't always work for people. So now you have to add a video element. So this is all kind of new for us. And so how do we take that? I mean, I usually just film some things, cut up some clips, some really good clips, and then like post those things on social media. But again, then I tell Jody, okay, you at home, film this and send it to me, and then I'll make a clip from that. So it's not actually from the show, but you get to see a little bit of our personality and us talk about movies, and you get a little taste without actually listening to the episode, and then you can say, listen to the episode. Yeah. So it's all like trial and error at this point. And even after going to that event, I don't think anyone really has a full handle on what to do in the space and how to actually take it to the next level and market it and whatever and get people to listen. I mean, how do you get people to listen to your show?
Let me just get my notepad.
I think a big part of it comes, we forget that it's not about just telling people about it, because you can just put it out there and then it's like, cool, I did my piece. But it's not about that. It's about actively engaging with people who want to know the answers to the things that you're putting out there, right? So if you are interacting with people, getting responses from them, and then, or like asking questions in like your communities and things, and then someone's like, oh, I have this question, you create an episode about that, and then you go back to where you were chatting to that person and telling them about that. So it's like small things like that that you can do to add to the marketing aspect of your podcast, which isn't just...
Do you do it yourself, or do you have someone who does it?
It's tricky because if you have someone who does it, it is the dream, right? But it's also, I did a lot of it in the beginning too, because it's my show and I wanted to be the brand and the authentic person behind it. And I still do, like I post a lot of the stuff on my side of things, not my person doing it for me, right? Because this is part of my job, so I'm going to do it, right? But at the same time, it's easy when you already have a huge brand and people who interact with you on social media. So that's where social does a great job, if you have that active, engaged
So
community.
How do you feel about like influencers that just start podcasts? Like, what's your honest opinion about that?
My honest opinion is, if you have a big audience like that, go for it, Jeff. She was already... Go, you say
No,
it.
say it. Both. This question is for both of you.
Well, you've got the marketing side of it. I've got the personal side of it. Again, start a podcast, but make it about something valuable. I think that's the biggest thing. Everyone's like, I saw a joke once that said, starting a podcast is the tramp stamp of this generation. It's not the nicest thing to say, but it's not like, I'm going to start a podcast. And you're like, okay, what? And like the same thing, the conversation that you had, what's your podcast going to be about? What are you going to do? What value are you going to add? You can't just write a name, but if you've got something to offer and something of value, do it, but it's a lot of work. Yes, you've probably got a team behind you, but it's a lot of work. But again, if you've got a big brand, on the other hand, a podcast can be the great sort of hub that you send people everywhere else from. So that's the other side of it. If you haven't started a podcast and you're an influencer, you don't have a podcast, if you restructure the way you're doing it, let that be your center and send everybody everywhere else, because that's the place where you build that connection with people. And I think like with you guys, that's where you've built your community. You've got an incredibly strong community based off of your podcast. And it's a way that they are able to interact with you and get to know you in a different sort of way, a very personal way, more so than just videos on Instagram.
Unfortunately, also, like, I'm not going to give any names or anything out, but there's someone that we want to talk to. And this person was on another show, an influencer show. And the influencer obviously got the interview because they're an influencer.
They have a platform.
And the questions that the influencer was asking was so benign based on what this person does for a living. And I'm like, Jody, if we just got that person, we wouldn't have to listen to this, the rubbish, actually. But that
fluff
frustrates me. Yeah, it is fluff. And
Yes.
it doesn't do anything. You don't learn anything. It's just do. But again, like it's hard not to be bitter. But even if someone comes and they've got something to say and they got a show, then yeah, I'm all for it. I'll give everyone a chance too. That's the thing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The reason those people are doing podcasts is because their audience, it's like an asset to them, right? If you aren't, and same with the celebrities, they're starting YouTube channels because it's giving them another income stream that they don't barely have to do anything about because they're celebs and they just have that audience as an asset. So yeah, but also, yeah, once everybody can't have a podcast, just have a podcast.
No, you don't. You either have a good show or a popular show. I'm joking.
I don't want to say a pathological optimist, but I truly believe that it's the weight or like the cream is what's going to kind of see you through. So people might enjoy this show for a little bit, but surely they have to see through the fluff a bit. And podcasting takes a lot of work. The prep that has to go in to have a great show, it's not just you talking. And so I have this beautiful belief that the ones that put in the work and put in the effort are the ones that are going to last and stand the test of time. So I'm going to hold on to that.
Well, yeah, you as well. But I mean, we'll see.
But I think that, I mean, to your point, Renee, it seems like a lot of these podcasts end up being fly by night. So you'll get like 5 episodes and no more than that because of the work. And it's not even that they are perhaps doing all the work themselves, but it ends up just that, you know, they were excited about something for a little bit of time and then realized this is actually a hell of a lot of work, and then it goes nowhere. So I think it is true that those who are really into it, who actually are passionate about doing this, will stick at it. And I think also by virtue of sticking at it, hopefully improve and keep, like Ross says, keep tweaking, keep working at it, and keep wanting to put out the best show you can put out.
Yeah, because that's crazy, right? Like Jody, the like people that like you, for instance, you guys, for instance, and other people that we met that like through Sean, but like they understand what it is. So when we say like, oh, we're coming up on our 100th episode, like I don't know how you felt, but for me that was just like, yeah, okay, it's a big thing, it's a milestone, we can do something special. But for people who actually produce their own shows and stuff, they'll be like, that's crazy. Like 100 episodes, that's insane. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. But we just try to, you just try and every, week or whatever, 2 weeks, you just try and put out. And then next thing you know, you got 100 episodes. I don't even know, man. I don't know how we got here. This is crazy.
But if I throw in like a weird industry statistic, there's actually like a thing called pod fade, and most podcasts don't make it past episode, it used to be 8, and now it's episode 5. So that's, yes. So if you put that in perspective.
So 100 is very great.
It's in Urban Dictionary. Pod fade is a real word. So if you put it in perspective, success.
5 episodes. Oh my
5,
God.
yeah,
But it
between
makes
5 and
sense.
8.
It makes sense,
because
honestly.
Yeah,
that's
you know
it.
what? Once they start realizing how much work it takes, then they're like, nah, I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm out.
Speaking of your 100th episode, so you're going to do the live event. So how did you, obviously you had a poll as to what movies you were going to cover. How did you kind of come up with what movies you were going to cover? Because they were interesting choices. I did appreciate they were interesting. And what
Jody,
do you
I'll
hope
take
people are
this
going to
one.
grab from it?
Go, sing us
okay.
how you
No,
want.
Ross.
Sing us
I
how
won
you
the
want.
poll. I won the poll. The
A
thing
very
is,
small margin, right?
No,
Not at
it was
all.
massive.
More
It
than
was
double
massive.
the
It was
votes.
like 60 odd to 30%. Yeah, massive. No, so we never want to come across as movie elitists. We never want to come across as knowing more about movies than anyone else. We have taken I do complain about a lot of things, especially musicals, but there's kind of no such thing as a guilty pleasure. It's just pleasure, right? And people watch movies for different reasons. They have various opinions. We want to take a movie that probably most people have seen, that they can either love or they can hate, or they can engage with. They can look at it through a lens of like, this is ridiculous, but this was a real time in my life where I was dressing that way or whatever. And that's why I chose Step Up. Not only for the fact that because we'll have the visual element added with the live show, we'll be able to have these clips and pictures and things that we can talk about, but also most people that I know and that are sort of our age range and even in our audience have seen the Step Up films, and whether they love it or not, they've been a part of that, So that's why I chose it. I think Jody just ran out of time with these choices. He didn't really think, but to be fair, I wanted to do a live Step Up, I think a couple years ago.
Yeah, we had teased doing a live episode a couple of years ago, and then like work life and things just went crazy. And Step Up it actually won the poll for that live event too. Like I think we had 3 options.
Nice.
So Step Up won then. So Ross was using some unfair statistics to hedge his bets on what would win this time around. It was really important for us that whichever film we considered would be something that the live audience, could resonate with in some way or engage with, and that they would have seen the movies. So it was definitely not going to be anything new. It had to be things that they could see before the live. And as Ross said, just the idea of the visuals. And I was a little salty when I lost, but I got so excited afterwards just thinking about everything we can do with this trilogy that we're going to be reviewing and all the content that can stem from it and the type of talking points that I'm fully on board. I would have voted.
But
for it
even
29,
the way we're gonna watch the movies is through like a different lens. Because like I don't usually make notes. I sort of remember things as I go, and then I'll go back afterwards and make notes. But for this one, the notebook's coming out because I haven't watched it in a while. But we're gonna rewatch it soon, and then the notes. I'm gonna look for mistakes. I'm gonna look for funny things. I'm gonna look for moments that were like, oh, that was amazing. Or he's a really good actor, or she's a really good actress, or whatever. So there's these things that I think we can pull out of these ridiculous movies because they're ridiculous. It's bubblegum. Like, say what you want. It's bubblegum.
But also the progression, like the progression from like 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, there's
exactly.
They're case studies in themselves, actually.
Exactly. Launching Channing Tatum's career. That movie. So it's like there's these important things that come out of it. But other than the movies, there's this other opportunity that we have to bring people into what we normally do as a show. We're gonna have a new segment as well, where they get to see us talk about that in real life and have images as well. And then there's some surprises that we're gonna do that we haven't really done before, which is cool. It's exciting, and I think a live will allow for that. Yeah,
it'll be an elevated version of what we do. So the idea is that you get all the best parts of a normal Bioscope Brasse podcast episode, but with, as Ross said, with some surprises that we are doing especially for this event, because it is also something worth celebrating. It's
yeah, and I mean, even though the tickets aren't that pricey, we still don't want people to walk away and think, oh, I wasted my money. I don't want people to leave and be like, oh, well, that wasn't worth it. We want to actually have something special and to be able to see people face to face. That I'm dreading that so much. I hate that. I hate that so much. I'm not looking forward to it.
This will air afterwards, so then at least everyone's going to know beforehand.
Okay, so let me say, it went well. That's just what I expected. Thank you, everyone.
I'm so looking forward to seeing all your faces.
But I mean, all jokes aside, what tips would you give someone when they're preparing for a live podcast recording? And what are the things that you guys have been thinking about to make sure that it does end up being this special up level of your regular episodes?
I mean, I think just to start, we aren't taking anything for granted as much as we feel like our basic show we could do almost with our eyes closed at this point. It's not that we wouldn't put effort in, but there's like we know the format and everything. So it's really just to not take things for granted and to, even with the basic elements, make sure that we are on top of our game. The main thing for us is, Ross just spoke about it, but we want to put something out that people enjoy, that they go to and they feel like it wasn't a waste of time or money. I enjoyed myself so much. And to do that, you've got to be the best version of yourselves and the best version of the show. So do anything we can to make sure that happens.
Yeah. So from me, like for work, we do events, conferences for like weeks and stuff. And I've actually learned quite a lot with regards to people's attention spans, sort of creating content for an audience and in those, well, to be fair, it's a corporate space, but I've used those tools and sort of like, okay, how can we, because we have all these ideas, like Jody and I chat about ideas all the time, but not everything is going to work. So you have to be like, okay, what is going to work in this space and what can hit and how can I minimize that time? Like, how can we hit it in that shorter space of time and carry on to the next thing as the flow? To be fair, we haven't gone through a full rehearsal yet. We're going through a full rehearsal soon, but we've been prepping content and prepping presentations and all that jazz so far. But yeah, it's going to come down to planning, eh? Yeah, it's going to come down to planning. And I think as much as you want to plan the inclusion of the audience, and we want people to be engaged, right? So we're going to have a roaming mic where you get to say your say or whatever, and we have to account for that. So that's going to be the tricky part, I think, is sticking to the plan, but also having enough room for jazz, basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say
I'm scared. I'm so scared.
I was gonna say, Carly, that it's also we can't stop being ourselves, and I think that is also key to all of this. With all the planning and we always say that the structure is there for us to fall back on and to kind of guide us. Because if you let the two of us go off on tangents, sometimes Abby just has to shout, or one of us has to like just remember what the main topic was we were talking about. But we can do all of that, the riffing and stuff. So, but we have to have room for that too. So it's that balance of being prepared, doing all the necessary rehearsals and stuff, but also trusting ourselves to on the night, if we are ourselves within those confines, that it'll go well.
Yeah, but I think we are lucky, Jody, in terms of our show is structured in a way that if things do go wrong, it kind of works. Yeah, because we'll be able to handle that and sort of go with it and just go with the flow. So we are lucky in that regard. If you have more a professional show, I think you're screwed because just kidding.
And so obviously this airs after your live. It was a hit. Like it went off without a hitch. It was amazing.
So good.
It was great and it was amazing. But just to kind of like prep for that, what would have been, if you looking back, is there a moment when you were recording your podcast and you're like, this episode just did not work? And did you release it? And then when you look back, if you did release it, is that one that you always just like, ugh, it's out there? Or is there a time when you went to the cinema and you're like, this movie is just like the worst cinema experience ever? And then maybe balance it with the best cinema experience.
We got all four. We got all four answers.
Yeah.
Go for it. I want it all.
Even the very first episode, Janae, there are about 5 or 6 people who've had the misfortune of having to listen to that entire thing. And that is something that Russ and I will probably not share massively with people, but just because it's like it was a starting point. In terms of actual episodes, I think there might have only been a couple where we were like, nah, something didn't work there and not put it out. But we've been quite fortunate in that generally there's like a minimum standard that we are able to adhere to, again with structure and all of those things that make the episodes pretty decent. If not, it goes from decent to great, I think, for us.
There was an episode with Sami where he came on the show, right? And he did not take it seriously at all. He wasn't doing what he was supposed to do.
He didn't do the homework.
And that was, I love the guy, but that we were not happy. And I told him we're not ever releasing that episode. It was dark.
And you're still such good friends now.
No, because
but you respect. I think he respects it. Yeah.
Of course, yeah, because he's like, no, you must release it. I'm like, I'm never gonna release it. I think I may have deleted it.
Yeah,
but our best shows were there was some ones where it was just our Fast and Furious episodes were some of the most fun I've ever had because that was talking about, you talk about progression of a franchise going from where they started to where they are now, and us being able to discuss that. Oh, it was amazing. And
Mm.
I think that ties into one of your best cinema experiences in Fast. What was the last one we saw? Fast 10.
Oh, Fast X. Fast
Yeah,
10 your
Fast X.
seatbelt.
And actually,
Mm.
he enjoyed the cinema experience so much that it changed his
Yeah.
review because he was positive about the film. It was a rubbish film. I have the ability to separate
What was in your
myself.
Kool-Aid?
Yeah,
No,
no,
I
because the whole cinema understood the assignment.
mm,
Everybody was
we were
laughing at how
so into it.
ridiculous it was. It was stupid. There were people rolling their eyes. It was just a fun time. But
Yeah.
Jody got those wires crossed.
This movie was a cinematic masterpiece.
I think when we did the review, I told Russ, as a cinema experience and with Jason Momoa just doing the Momoas in that film, I had so much fun. When I
Well played.
rewatched that movie, it was atrocious. It was like even Jason Momoa barely held up in the rewatch, and I was like, I don't know
Terrible.
how I got through. But I mean, that also I think speaks to just like us. And when I go and watch a movie with Ross, my sense of the film's quality, I think, sometimes gets skewed when it's that type of movie, like that type of bombastic action. I mean, I came out of the last Expendables thinking it wasn't too bad either, and again, upon a rewatch, that should not
Because
have
he's
been
On
talking though, he
reflection.
makes jokes. He makes jokes with me. Another thing, we went to watch Poor Things with Cassidy. That was
Mm,
also a lot of fun. But that
mm,
was, luckily, that was a good film. I think for
yeah.
me, the one of the worst experiences was actually Boy Kills World recently.
Oh,
Mm.
serious?
But yeah, because
Not
it
because of the
was
movie.
not because of the movie, but we weren't aware that it was a big event, a launch event. So we pitched
Mm,
up there in our normal civilian clothes,
yeah.
and it was, there was influencers and photography, and Shalto and them were actually there, and there was a bar and everything, and we were like overwhelmed. And then it came to the screening, and then because they had invited so many people that weren't actually there for the film, they were just talking the whole
Yeah.
time.
No respect.
No respect.
No
No
respect
Yeah.
for the
it's-
institution.
I know it sounds just, yeah.
Shania,
Okay.
No,
you
no,
wouldn't
I'm
understand
actually
the
not
audible.
joking. I'm
I'm not
actually
one-
not joking.
Oh, man.
I'm not one to usually
Oh.
say like shut up, but I had to that day because I couldn't actually hear the dialogue. So that, I mean, Jody saw me when I walked out of this. I was not happy. I actually
Yeah.
have to rewatch that film because I missed so many things. So that for me was one of the worst ever.
No, my experience wasn't as tainted, but we are really fortunate to get into quite a few screenings now.
Yeah.
And I think one of the very first screenings that we actually got to give tickets away to as well just so happened to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Hypnotic by Ben Affleck was a stunningly bad movie that we
To the point we apologized to the people.
apologized. to
We're
people
so
because-
sorry.
No, yeah, the people who invited Jody and I were like, we hope we get better films in the future. I'm really sorry that you
Please don't let this
have,
reflect poorly on
have
us.
some money. Have some money out
Yeah.
of my pocket. Here's a 50 rand, please. I'll pay for your parking.
Oh man.
I feel like I have one question that's been stuck in my mind since thinking about having you guys on the show, and it's, how do you come up with your titles, and how does that work in the podcasting world?
Ooh, how do we come up with that title?
We just let creativity reign.
Oh,
with
are you
those
talking
things.
about episode titles?
Yes.
Episode title.
Oh, so yeah, no, yeah. So
That-
we used to have the name of the film that we're reviewing, and then Simi told us you guys should consider changing the titles. And as I edit, I sort of, I don't know. I think when I'm done editing, I think of the
Just
thing in the
comes to you.
past, and I'm like, yeah, Jody said something so ridiculous, or I said something so ridiculous, and I think I'm just gonna put that in the title. Yeah, what is our last title? Actually, I didn't even. When I'm done editing it, also it's gone from my memory. It's gone. I only have so much in the memory bank.
Your last title was brilliant. Have you found
Yeah,
it?
it's like a lobotomy, but too far. Because Jody said that. Jody said that. So I tried to make it like quotes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I said he's a effing pumpkin in the one thing. And then
Sand
teamwork makes
everywhere.
the dream works. Yes, sand everywhere. Yeah. So that's sort of how we come up with it. It's something that we say in the show. And if you get it, you get it. Or when you only get it once you listen. But yeah,
Which is a nice little Easter egg then.
Yeah.
Like you hear the thing.
I didn't even realize that.
It's like when they say a movie title in the movie, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
there it is.
It looks like they have to be Fast and Furious 10.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we can keep talking forever about movies and podcasting, and it's been honestly so fun. But I do want to jump into our quick fire questions because I feel like it just adds a little bit of extra fun on top of the fun. So these ones are just like answer whatever comes to mind. You can swap between two, it doesn't matter. But the first one is, how has podcasting changed the way you do life?
Quick fire, Jody.
The quick fire answer, the irony is that it makes me more thoughtful about what I say, actually. Like Ross was referencing earlier. I think about it more.
Oh, that's too long. Technical skills and vocabulary. Next.
Go for the next.
What is your one non-negotiable investment when it comes to your podcast?
Buying movie reviews.
What?
Like opinions. I'm not going to change my opinion if you give us money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Integrity.
Yes.
Come on.
That's
quick fire.
I'm so quick, I can't think of the right words. I'm just like, buy movie reviews. Yeah, integrity.
Integrity is also probably why we don't have more sponsors, but sticking to it.
Remember, pathological optimism over here. It's going to pay off in the long run.
Thank you, Janae. We appreciate it.
That didn't sound sincere, Ross. I'm just going to put that out. Thank you.
I believe in your belief. Let's put it that way.
There you go. Okay,
Next one.
So third one is, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned as a podcaster?
Be prepared.
Sort of similar. Preparation, editing.
Yeah.
So, final question. If money and time were not a factor, what would be the next thing for your podcast?
Oh, gosh.
Comic-Con.
San Diego
Comic-Con. Oh, actually, not San Diego Comic-Con because...
Disney Expo.
No, CinemaCon.
CinemaCon.
That's where the movie theaters are invited. The movie theaters and movie theater owners are invited by the studios, and the studios show them what's upcoming so that they can like prepare and stuff. And some people, some pundits and stuff get access to that. I would love to go to that. Love.
And those clips are sometimes never released.
Thank you, Janae. Oh man, I need like words of affirmation. We should just play over and over on our show.
Yeah. Have her going in the left ear, me in the right.
I believe in you.
Well, you guys did great on the quickfire, and thank you for sharing so much of your experience and your journey with us. We love watching you on this incredible path and seeing what you've been able to achieve with this grassroots approach and just being authentically who you are. And yeah, so thank you so much for coming on the show today. And Jen for joining and making it so much fun. Yeah, anything you want to say?
No, it was fantastic. I loved getting to speak to you guys. It was really, really incredible. And I really just think you're doing such an incredible job. And yeah,
I'm recording this.
But you really, really are. And I will tell anybody who will listen. And I just think you've done, keep going. You're doing such an incredible job.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a great time. Thanks, Carly. Thanks, Janae. And
I hope to see you guys soon.
About us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody else for tuning in, and we will see you next time.